All right, cool. So, nice. All right, cool.
I wish Teeb were here.
Yeah, right.
So now, what the hell?
He could paint his face red.
Here, one thing that's annoying that Skype's doing is it's putting names up on the video feed. Okay, I think we're good now. I think that left the screen. So. Okay. Cool. Sure. Yeah. Sure thing. All right, cool. All right, so switching over to the live stream in 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Oh, wow. There it is. Hey there. You are watching a stream of Star Wars Loose Cannon. We are a Star Wars podcast. I'm Patrick Ebersol, and with me, as always, are two of my buddies here. We have...
Okay, I'll start. I'm Nick Oswald. Hey, I made sure to get in there really, aggressively, so Alex would talk over me this time.
Jump on in. And also...
Oh, Alex Lowe, the one and only.
Great. We have two extra faces here today as well. Two bright, shiny, impressive faces, if I say so myself.
Do not let your eyes deceive you.
Yeah.
It is not Hello Greedo.
All right, guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Who talks first? Do you talk first, or do I talk first?
Oh, yes. Did it.
I started,
Uh-oh.
so I might.
I think we lost him a bit there.
Yeah, we're getting some audio hiccups.
Oh.
I
There you
think...
go.
Oh.
Again, IG.
Go for
Okay,
it.
so I'm IG69 from Faking Star Wars Radio.
There we go.
Great entrance there. I mean, I definitely want to impress people right out of the gates with our audio.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm Storm Duper from Faking Star Wars Radio, fakingstarwars.net.
Nice. Yeah, I think the internet was trying to choose who was going to talk first in that situation, unfortunately. So we have some buddies here. Yeah, it's very exciting. We have a great topic ahead of us to be covering, and very excited to jump into it. But first of all, I just wanted to say I recently got back from the island state of Hawaii. I just wanted to brag a little bit and explain why I'm dressed like a creepy, perverted man. That's why. So...
Well, while Patrick was in Hawaii, I was in Fresno, California. So who's the real winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that'd be Alex.
You guys are hitting up all the cool places. So,
So, I mean, if Gary, Indiana is like the nation's armpit, is Fresno, Indiana like the crease of the back of the knee, or what exactly?
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
about.
Maybe the grundle or the taint area, perhaps.
Guys, I think like 70% of our listeners live in Fresno. We just really shot ourselves in the foot.
All right, those were the last ones.
They know.
so what? So the 75% of Annalee Harbison lives in Fresno.
Wait, you have one entire listener? We've always split our listeners up over episodes, you know?
I'm convinced it's like a Tyler Durden thing where we've imagined her and she's just like another personality that we need to think of ourselves as
She's actually
succeeding.
me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if she has imaginary children, then hey, who knows? You're in business. You got multiple listeners.
There
That's
you go.
true.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
the dream that we're still holding out for, is imaginary children listeners of our one stalker who listens to us.
Yeah.
Well,
We're
that
still
was the
waiting
one.
for him to get through in an episode, though.
That was the tactic of WBEZ radio in Chicago. Like they had like a whole marketing campaign. It was please have children, because it's like hipster people that listen to public radio are dwindling. So you guys got to hurry up and having kids. So that's what we're hoping for with our one listener.
Yeah, usually whenever someone...
They have a whole campaign to have children, right? Where they have have sex days, and everybody gets a day off work to go try to pretend that they want to have sex with somebody.
Nice.
Baby.
I've been trying to pressure Nick to, anytime any fans reach out to us on our social media, I want him to immediately start asking them about their children, and it's kind of been backfiring a little bit. So we just got to persevere.
Well, we're trying to start another episode or another podcast that's just in Spanish, and we're going to advocate for people coming across the border. So.
Oh, perfect. Nice.
Yeah. We figure with a burgeoning Latino population, that's really our demographic for the future. So
you guys
will be the first thing they hear when they get over the Rio Grande, and they'll be like, "Man, I'm in the right place."
Or they'll head right on back.
Yeah, they go right. Yeah, I was going to say that. They go and they leave.
Well, cool.
You didn't need a wall. You just needed to put Faking Star Wars on a loudspeaker.
Yeah, crowd dispersal.
Much better option.
So I want to get a little bit. Let's get our plugs out of the way now. I want to wrap my arms around the Faking Star Wars network and media empire, because based on my experience with you guys, one of the things I love is that I can never tell what you actually think, because you make fun of both sides of any kind of Star Wars argument. So like the one good thing about it is I could look at your stream and I could tell if I was an SJW I'd be mad. But also, if I was on the far right, I would also be mad. So tell us about like what Faking Star Wars Radio does. Well, not radio, but Faking Star Wars as a network. Because I think of you guys as the Onion of Star Wars news, but maybe you got a better way to say that.
Well, we like to say, that we're Faking Star Wars, and that the internet's best comedy, satire, parody, Star Wars. We're fake news for real fans. And this started out of just a couple of friends who met on a different Star Wars blog. I'm not going to say the name, but they were kind of ridiculed because they weren't taking things seriously enough, and they decided to start their own kind of parody site. I discovered them on Twitter when I was looking for actual leaks when The Force Awakens was in production, and we just became friends. And we have a number of any other contributors, and we've sort of walked the line of being a little political versus just being silly. We try to stay relevant, but we also like to, we don't like to be too serious. So, if you've noticed that we're trying to play all sides, that's because we are pansexual in that sense when it comes to parody.
Literally and figuratively.
Nice.
So you're like Lando. You're like Solo Lando, whereas you're in it for the droids too. Which is why you have such a close relationship with IG-69.
We serve their kind.
Closer than you could ever imagine. When IG-69 docks his ship, there's more going on than you'd ever believe.
Oh wow!
To be
we're getting more audio from IG.
Man, we lost IG again.
Oh no!
All
right.
Oh.
Maybe jiggle it. Come on, I know you know how to jiggle it. I've seen you do it.
Have you tried turning it on and off again?
You did it once, like months ago, but I don't know.
Okay.
There
we go. We hear you.
Okay, good. Yes, yeah. Just turn that up a little bit. Right.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I started with Stormtrooper, just doing the Faking Star Wars radio stuff, and I think we both have some issues with not Star Wars. We love Star Wars, but the fandom and the corporate side and all of that, it just seems really political, and people need to take a step back and breathe. Not take it all so religiously.
Make Star Wars fun again. That's what I like to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on what is canon, and basically talking about the moment that the Disney announcement came out about them taking on Star Wars, and just the intense blowback that happened at that very moment, where it was an immediate cut down the middle, it felt like, of the people who were excited about the possibilities that were going to be introduced by Disney having the funds to finance all the new stuff coming from Star Wars, and then all the people who were saying, all right, well, they're going to ruin it, and they're going to over milk it, and they're going to create all sorts of I don't know. I don't even know what the arguments were at that point, really, saying, I guess, Disney princesses would be Star Wars people, which I thought was cool. But, but
to add is, for years and years, I labored intensively with only single-ply Tatooine toilet paper. But since Disney has come on board, that double-ply stuff, it's just made a world of difference down there. So,
so you guys are getting the paycheck from Lucasfilm, too.
Well. So let's try to look at it as a whole picture.
It's true.
Okay, so you guys are getting the paychecks from Lucasfilm too. Okay, it wasn't just us.
No. They've paid everyone.
Okay,
it's all corrupt now.
Yes, the shills. The shills of the internet. Yeah.
Well, you have to, like, both sides are relevant, like if you want to make good Star Wars content, you need the funding. And also, if you're going to give it to a megacorp, they're going to put out, kind of less inventive and creative ideas. What do you do?
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see the transformation, though, of, like, I think Disney got really excited initially, saying, like, all right, we got Star Wars, let's see how much money we can make out of this thing, and they went wild. And I think right after Solo face planted, they're like, all right, let's pull back, guys, let's pull back a little bit. And now I think we just have, the next Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker.
Pull up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The irony there is that Solo is, in my opinion, by far the most fun of all the things that Disney has made in the Disney era. I mean, say what you will about it. I mean, it's obviously got some parts that are really silly, but as a Star Wars film, it's definitely the most Star Wars. Like, it's just fun and a great ride and a great character arc. And the only reason I think it flopped was because of all the stuff around it. It really had nothing to do with the film itself.
It was too close to The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, they didn't promote it at all. I mean, they put out one Super Bowl ad and a few other, things here and there. If they had put half the amount of promotion in the Solo film that they did, Force Awakens or even Last Jedi, I think it would have done better. Yeah. Because people that don't even like Star Wars said that was their favorite Star Wars movie by far. I mean, I have a friend who hates Star Wars. The only reason he watches it is because he likes Boba Fett, because he's a revolutionary, right? The Solo film was absolutely his favorite he's ever seen. So.
I find that just so crazy, but to each their own.
It was way better than Rogue One, and it was almost what we want, which is the, like, adventures in the Star Wars universe that's not necessarily connected to the main trilogies, but of course it's Solo, so it's sort of connected. But if you just had any random smuggler in there, it would have been a great story.
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Yes, but I mean, I just think it was much better than it did in the box office.
So I think kind of like what we're seeing is a weird melding of the content we knew from Star Wars and how Disney's molding it with their power that they have now, and also the new stuff they're introducing. And this is my attempt at a segue. For instance, seeing the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels and the stuff that came from that. And the General Jedi Inquisition as well, which was, I think, a very generally interesting concept, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if Duper, you want to explain why you've come to sit at the feet of Loose Cannon today and phrase the question that was burning at your heart when you begged me to let you guys on the show.
Well, I was thinking about, remember a few weeks ago when that cathedral in Paris burned down? What's it called?
Notre Dame.
Go Fighting Irish.
Notre Dame Cathedral. They got a lot of stuff in there, right? That's really old. That's been there for thousands of years. Like, I think they got, like, the Crown of Thorns and all this crazy mythological shit, right? And that stuff isn't going away. Like, that's one place on the planet, and just because it burnt down, like, people are going to know about it for hundreds of years still. And I was thinking, like, what about the Jedi? I mean, the Jedi were the most important, order of people that could, wield the Force in terms of their religion. And they're around in the galaxy, widespread across the galaxy. And then suddenly, in literally 5 minutes of a montage, they're gone, right? And so what happened, with all their relics, what happened with all their lightsabers, even their robes? They would have been sold into, like, the Coruscant equivalent of Goodwill or something. There are some poor, death stick dealers out there who would love to have had a Jedi robe like that. So what happened in the time period between that Jedi Purge or Inquisition and A New Hope to just basically erase all recollection of the Jedi except for just a few little intimations here and there? It's incredible to me. You would have thought that people would have been buying and selling lightsabers on the black market, at least harvesting the kyber crystals. So there's a whole story that we really don't know much about. Rebels just touched on it, scratched the surface.
So I think actually I read a rumor that Rian Johnson's new trilogy is going to be about a little peasant kid who ends up getting, it turns out to be Ki-Adi-Mundi's old robe from Goodwill. And all of the fun adventures that come from that. So I'm really excited about that new plot line.
Finds an old holocron that just happens to be a broadcast of Ki-Adi-Mundo, the galaxy's first
get, like,
Spanish
super
language.
widescreen, though, for, like, Ki-Adi-Mundo. It's going to be this, like, half of his head. I don't think the technology existed at the time to like capture the entire. Anyway, yeah.
Is this a papaya that I've purchased at Goodwill on Coruscant? No, it's just Ki-Adi-Mundi's skull. Okay.
I assumed that all the robes were donated to Tatooine.
Yeah, all the Tusken Raiders have them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like
every Jawa is basically wearing a mini Jedi robe. I mean, I'm assuming that's where all the younglings' robes went.
Essentially, it seems like the Jedi robes and the Jedi garb became like the galaxy's embarrassing hand-me-down clothes that only the most poor people wore after that, because that's generally all you see in the original trilogy.
Gosh, overalls of the galaxy.
Exactly. It's like
that's the best reference right there.
Jedi robes were the LA gear of the Star Wars galaxy.
Only 90s kids will remember having a Jedi robe.
Yeah.
Like mom jeans equivalent, right?
Oh.
Yeah, it explains why everyone thought old Ben Kenobi was so crazy walking around in his mom jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that is something that
that's people to still contend with.
I think that is something that we started to see in some of the new movies, though, which prior to the new Disney saga of stuff, is we didn't really see the idea of like aged icons of Star Wars, and not even just talking about like Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and stuff, but like an old decrepit like Death Star or a Star Destroyer that had crashed into a planet. What happens to those things that were like so powerful and respected at one point when they're abandoned and left alone? And like you see it with the idea and like the legend of Anakin's lightsaber and who gets to wield it, and it becomes this like greater than any other instrument in all of the Star Wars universe. So I feel like you could definitely do so many different storylines based off the idea of all these different kyber crystals or hilts or, I don't know, Yoda's robe, something like that.
Well, like, let's be honest. I mean, The Force Awakens kind of retconned that whole idea of like this sacred sword in a way. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi did give the Anakin's lightsaber to Luke, and it was like this very tender mythological moment, the passing over something great. But come on, that was like his fifth fucking lightsaber. I mean, what happened with the other four? And one got cut in half by like a droid in a factory. They're scattered across the galaxy. I think General Grievous might have one or two.
Yeah.
I mean, we never hear about those lightsabers, right?
Yeah.
But then suddenly there's this connection, and they had to create something that had looking back to the original trilogy, but still forward. So
it's like Obi-Wan held on to Anakin's fifth iPhone. It's like your father would have wanted you to have this when you were old enough. It's like, what? His iPhone from 20 years ago?
This is his Motorola Razr.
But like, who would want that particular lightsaber? Like, the last thing it did was like he tried to murder his master, and just before that he murdered children with it. Like, why do you want this one?
Sounds like my kind of lightsaber.
Here's any other random lightsaber. It's you still see the blood of the children. Your father would have wanted you to have this.
See,
no.
I'm gonna retcon right now.
Obi-Wan picks up right on Mustafar.
Yeah. Right after he chops him in half, he's like,
he kind of does a last little look back and like, oh, okay, fine.
I'm going to do a quick retcon of the infamous moment when Luke first gets the lightsaber and Obi-Wan says it's one of the most powerful weapons or tools in all the galaxy, and Luke immediately stares right down into the hilt of it. I'm going to say that's because through the channel of the Force, he was able to hear all of the trapped souls of dying children in the hilt, and he's like, where's that coming from? Look down here.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be like a webisode, like a cartoon webisode where Luke holds it in his ear like a conch shell, and he can hear like the voices of people telling him like, I murdered children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe that's why he turned on Kylo in, Last Jedi. Maybe he was hearing more of those children's voices.
There you go.
It turns out I wasn't seeing his dreams. I was just listening to the lightsaber.
Oh my god, yeah. And like, it could also be that they originally wrote Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader to be two different characters. Oh no! Oh wait!
There we go.
Oh!
Blown this thing wide open.
Talk about that. We've interviewed George Lucas himself, and we didn't even ask him that question in person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, Obi-Wan actually calls Darth Vader Darth. He's like that. Darth was meant to be his first name.
Only a master of evil, duh.
Yeah, like, come on. Anyway, they've the story of this is the thing. The story isn't plotted out like they're taking a book series. Every director makes it up as they go along, and sometimes they do it well, and sometimes not so well.
I will say, even with that idea, knowing that it really was made up as it went along, the fun part is when you watch Sir Alec Guinness give that performance, it almost seems like he's uncomfortable, but it's probably just because he's uncomfortable being in that movie. So, but you look at him, he's like, he was a great friend.
Yeah.
He does a great job, though. I mean, who doesn't like? Oh, like when I was a kid watching that movie, it's like Obi-Wan was just, he's not there for very long, but wow, he leaves a mark on you.
He does a lot of side-eye kind of stuff. He looks off to the side as he's explaining things to Luke, and it looks like he's lying, like it's giving the fact. And I really don't think Lucas was giving him that direction off stage, or like, hey, by the way, in 30 years we're going to make the prequel to this, and you actually have actually decapitated or like dismembered his father during this time.
So I think it was like a convenient failure in this situation where George Lucas is not really known for his directing strengths, as noticed by the prequels, but I feel like what was happening was Alec Guinness was just very confused on what most of his characters' motivations were. So he was just constantly in like all of his moments of speaking being like, I'm supposed to care about this boy, aren't I? Like, to kind of just, do I attach to you? Are you my emotional anchor in this scene? So he's just kind of like very floaty, which gives us, the fans, a really great moment to basically just find these little nuances or moments that I think on his part were confusion, and being like, oh, look he's giving some side eye there. It's because that's a clue. We're seeing a clue there,
Well, we're reading into the performance based on what they came up with later on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the original idea for the story is pretty much just done the way it is, and like he says, like your uncle's afraid I'm going to take you like away like I did your uncle, meaning that like, or your father. So like it sounds like the original idea was that Anakin Skywalker was a young adventurous guy like Luke was, and Obi-Wan was an older, more experienced soldier, and took him off to the Clone Wars, but then later on we find out that's not how it went down.
Yeah.
I think Lucas always had the idea that either Obi-Wan was going to be Luke's dad or Darth Vader was going to be Luke's dad, and I don't think he chose which one until Empire, but I think he always had both of those possibilities floating around his head.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that where I think you could tell there's moments where Lucas had both of his feet planted in like both possible avenues of the general plots, which is why we had this stuff with Leia and Luke in Return of the Jedi, where it's like, oh, by the way, you're the sister, and you guys kiss, don't ask questions, They couldn't decide on those sort of things, and when they had to finally make those decisions, it's just there's some inconveniences that are in the past movies as a result.
Yeah, check the cutscenes. They went way more into that before, in Empire, and then decided, you know what? I think we're just going to cut that bit out. We don't need to do this.
It'll make problems. We don't want problems. Yeah.
It got weird.
Wow. So how did we get on that topic, man?
Why do you think is that
back to the Inquisition?
Right.
Yeah. Should we try and get
on a show that deals more with those kind of minutia points? I mean, they have the Inquisitor, they have Kanan, I guess, or Kanan and Rebels, who's sort of a Padawan, but there's very little else in terms of like how many Jedi actually were still alive after Order 66. I mean, there's no way in hell that like these clones were able to kill all the Jedi in the entire galaxy in 5 minutes. I mean, at least some of them had to be like on the John, like with hemorrhoids or putting on some preparation H or something. I mean, like there has to be stories there that have not been fleshed out in comic books or even in novelizations.
Totally imagining, that Donald Glover moment from Community where he walks back into the apartment and it's on fire and he's just like screaming. I'm totally imagining some random Jedi who went to go use the bathroom, and then that's when Anakin storms the temple and he comes back and there's just like dead children everywhere. Like, what happened?
I would pay to see that.
Robot
for 5 minutes.
Version of that.
Yeah.
Well, there is a list of Jedi who survived Order 66 in canon, and wouldn't you know it, our boy Snakebeard boy Oppo Rancisis made it. He made the cut, literally.
for the time being.
They probably just looked at him and they were like, "You're too weird looking to be a Jedi," and just kept.
Well, what I think happened, all he had to do is get rid of the robe and then shave that ridiculous snake beard, and then like people just he could just slither down to the recesses of what are the levels in Coruscant? What's the one canceled video game?
Oh, 13.
13. So you just went down to 1313. He was just like a regular snake.
Yeah, he just looked like one of the weird space crackheads that lived down in 1313.
Oh, that's just Oppo. Don't listen to
him. Well, there's also a game coming out soon called Star Wars Fallen Order that's all about like the years between Order 66 and all of the Jedi that are in hiding. So hopefully that'll give us
Please be an Oppo Rensis cutscene. Please be Oppo Rensis cutscene.
So they are doing it finally. It's like, I just need to start patenting my ideas, because I can't tell you how many times I've come out and said something on the podcast or on another podcast like this one, and then literally 5 minutes later I hear they are producing this property already. So
yeah. Well, they're finding the best periods of like interesting Star Wars lore to explore, and that's, I would say, number one is the years between the Empire and the fall of the Jedi Order, and then secondly is right after the end of Return of the Jedi, which is when the Mandalorian's going to take place. So there's some cool stuff coming from that, but I'm curious about what they're going to do with Fallen Order, because it's going to be with an older youngling who's trying to learn how to control his power so he doesn't get found out and all that stuff. And there's an old relic lightsaber too that's kind of feeding into what we're talking about what happens to that stuff, when they're not allowed to have it out in the open anymore. All that cool neat stuff.
Cool, neat stuff.
Yeah.
So do you want to go through the rest of the list of everyone who survived?
Oh, yes, let's do a TRL countdown.
All right, so sure. I can't believe we missed this one in our cool Aliens of the Jedi Council podcast. But there's a not Coleman Tibor. There's another guy named Coleman, and it's Coleman Kakaj, which is just Jack backwards. So I'm guessing there was a producer named Jack Coleman, and they're like, okay, so this Jedi's name is going to be Coleman, and your name backwards. There was also, Oppo Rensis. There was somebody named Uvel.
Uvel.
Uvel is at University of
Louisville. Yeah.
Louisville, yeah.
Yep.
There was Quinlan Voss. We can't remember him. I can't remember him at all. And then we got Kanan Jarrus.
Not related to Dryden Voss, right?
No, they're brothers. I'm confirming that now. That's canon.
They got the cracks in the face, the red ones. There was Kanan Jarrus, who was also known by Caleb Doom at that time.
Mirror images of each other.
Oh, nice.
We got Ahsoka. She made it out, obviously.
I think her and some of the other ex-Jedi, like the ones that quit the Order.
Oh, yeah.
Like Ethkoff. Yeah.
Little outcasts.
Oh, my God, guys. This is, again, the creative might of the Lucasfilm team. Whenever we go, and I'm not trying to downplay your opinion on this, IG, but whenever we go, oh man, Disney is really getting into our creative juices and we're just not creative anymore, then I look at Jedi that are named literally the backwards name of somebody in real life. So there's Selrock Elowas, which is Charles Soule backwards. Anybody know who's bonus points for anybody who knows who Charles Soule is?
The comics writer, right, for Darth Vader?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually live in the same city, he and I.
Oh, nice.
I've never met him, though.
Yeah, it's such a shame that Disney swooped in and took away the creative genius of whoever came up with that.
Yeah. I think they got the team from Mortal Kombat to do that with, Noob Saibot.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, so on the note of the Jedi who survived Order 66, you guys want to hear the title of the dumbest article on the internet?
All right, cue my intro. There we go.
Star Wars, 12 Jedi who survived Order 66, parentheses, and 8 who should have.
Eight who should have. It's sort of like that joke, 30 cows in a field, 28 chickens, how many didn't?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's thanks to ScreenRant.com, everyone. They once rejected a job application I sent them.
Oh.
You didn't want to be writing listicles from them anyway.
Right now.
Yeah, not even rejected. I never even heard back from him.
So who was one of the 8 that they said should, who they shoulded all over, who didn't make it?
Should have survived. Yaddle.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yaddle's distance from the war makes her odds of survival more favorable, is the reason why she should have survived.
No, wait, seriously? They actually said Yaddle?
Yeah, no, for real. Also, Kai Adimundi, he said, like many who fell in episode 2, he had little chance of surviving the betrayal. But had he survived, it would have been a great opportunity to bring an unused concept to life. For his appearance in episode 3, artist Derek Thompson imagined a battle-scarred look for the Jedi. So he should have survived. Oh, man.
He's got a lot of dome space on that head to get scarred up, so that is a shame.
Jesus H. Christ.
So do I.
Oh, they included... Wait.
I should have been in the movie.
Oppo Rancisis is someone who should have survived.
Someone didn't do their research.
He did survive, you dummy.
This is why we need to have a council, Canon is in dispute.
A council, a Jedi council.
The Council of Coruscant.
I would be more than happy to be the Yaddle of that council.
I mean, how would you like to be, who killed Yaddle? I mean, a bunch of clone troopers, gathered
It was me, I'm sorry.
Dog, and just, take it, sister, I mean, come on, just blow Yaddle to smithereens. Why don't we get that scene in, the cutscenes of Revenge of the Sith?
Just imagining all of these elite, clone troopers talking about which Jedi they got, which one they took out, and everyone's all proud going down the list. Then one guy's like, oh, I don't want to say. Go ahead and let's say who you got. He's like,
we have to shoot that one too.
It was the one that looked like Yoda, but with a mullet. The Ellen DeGeneres Yoda. They're like, oh, Yaddle! He got Yaddle!
The diseased, overgrown rainforest frog with breasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
you know that stormtrooper meme where he's bent over a bench and he's got his hand, his helmet in his hand at the end of the day, and it's those were the droids I was looking for.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing, PTSD from having to kill Yaddle.
Yeah.
She just force haunts him all the time, just
Oh man.
Yeesh. Well,
that was everybody. I think that was a question at one point, but that was everybody who survived Order 66.
Well, okay, but that's on the official canon bits, but they keep bringing more in because I assume they wouldn't have bothered to make an Inquisition to hunt down 8 people.
Yeah, they're gonna do. I'm sure oh, go ahead.
A few of them were killed shortly after Order 66.
Yeah, that was Quinlan Voss and Luminara Unduli.
Yeah.
And Jocasta knew.
There's totally gonna be a lot of Jedi deaths that weren't really deaths, the types that you see in comics all the time, where it's oh, you thought they were dead, but they're really doing a force projection, and then they jumped into a 1313 sewer grate and rocketed off the planet, and this is their story now. So they'll cherry pick all the coolest or most interesting Jedi and make sure that they survive somehow. And unfortunately, I don't think Yaddle will stay in that league. But
so a part of Order 66 was to also kill Force-sensitive kids that weren't Jedi yet too. Mm-hmm. So that was a part of that. The Inquisitors were also in charge of doing that. So do we want to shift over to talk about the so-called Inquisitorius?
It's really that'd be good. Why that didn't make it into Revenge of the Sith. I mean, just scenes of these dark beings scouring the galaxy and murdering children in the streets.
But they came out after Order 66, and lots of them were fallen Jedi. Just some Jedi weren't killed. They turned to the dark side and said, hey, I like to live, so sure, I'll murder children for you.
When I think,
and it's not, it wasn't enough just to call them the Inquisitors. It had to be this fun, exalted name, Inquisitorius, which just sounds like Inquisitor Curious.
It's basically
Fly Curious.
It's basically them trying to
We're
sound
all
smarter.
Inquisitor Curious.
Yeah, we all.
We're pan-Inquisitors.
We're questioning. And the thing is, I think that what happened, which I think is kind of an interesting concept, is that a lot of the people who were Inquisitors were fallen Jedi who dropped out of the Jedi Order because I think they hated the bureaucracy or some of the hypocrisy within the Jedi Order, and so they saw the dysfunction and the corruption within the own ranks of the Jedi, and they said, this system's not working, we're going to do our own thing, and they joined the Inquisitors, which was meant to erase the Jedi, which I think is a much more compelling reason, right?
So their own thing was to murder Force-sensitive children who were not members of the Jedi Order. Okay.
Yeah, that's the hard right.
I dig it.
One. Yeah.
There's a slight how can I say this, departure from the official Order 66, which I believe when it was passed into law by the Imperial Senate, whatever, it was like Volume 66 or like whatever it was, but I don't think it went as far as to kill all of the Force-sensitive children. This was more of a Vader thing, and I think this is canon after comics. This like in the past couple of years, but he actually instructed the Inquisitors to go after more children so he wouldn't have any competition. Well, how petty is that?
Going along with
he got a taste for it, and once you start, he's killing those younglings. He's like, you know what? I need more of this. He bought himself a van and just cruise the streets.
Yeah, once you taste child flesh, you can't.
Yeah.
I gotta stop that one.
Darth Vader was the.
Okay. And going along with that idea of Vader, trying to kill all the younglings who didn't have competition, we are also forgetting the FS MILFs of the galaxy, the Force-sensitive mothers I'd like to force choke. And, I mean, there had to have been a concern as well, not only for the children, but for the mothers who bore them, because if midichlorians are to be believed as a thing, they could have very well have had more children, right, in the future after Order 66 and repopulated the galaxy with Force-sensitive children. So I don't think that they just went after the kids, but also the mothers, too.
Yeah, they went around with the midichlorian diabetes machine to like prick everybody's fingers to look at their blood sugar count, and just because they thought they were force sensitive or not, they made sure they went to the moms and check for diabetes.
I always think of it more as a force PKE meter where they're like do 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 do, and like, oh, there's a ghost, like, oh, or a force user.
You have ghosts in your blood.
Yeah.
Well, IG and I were, I can't remember if it was Teeb or IG, we were discussing on the last episode of Faking Star Wars Radio if Disney will do an R-rated Star Wars film, and if they had, any ideas. I mean, this would be an R-rated Star Wars film where they went around and killed the Force-sensitive children. I mean, that, it has a lot of biblical connotations, of course, and so I think it could be a good movie. Pretty freaking dark, but hey.
It kind of reminds me of the flip side of the people who went after the old SS soldiers after World War II kind of thing. Like the bad version of it.
Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. A Star Wars film. Okay, so all right, here we go. We're pitching more Disney Plus movies and TV shows.
Cue the theme music.
Yep. I have to make that now. Thanks, Alex. So we have, a 10-episode series scouring the galaxy with the Inquisitor Curious to find all the children and kill them, and it's directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that was going to say Quentin Tarantino should be the one to do the R-rated Star Wars.
There'd be a lot of zoom-ins on the mom's feet of all the children. Like, why you look?
Oh my!
Actually, I hate to figure feet. Who would do that movie really well would be Uwe Boll. Like, he would just totally rock that.
Well, then they're going to have a scene where somebody opens up like a metal case and then it shines in their face, but you never see what's in the metal case.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody's laying.
It's like, the Force.
I'm dying here, man. I'm fucking dying.
See, that's it. Like, what was in that suitcase? The Force.
Okay, guys, I just had a real moment of clarity. If Quentin Tarantino did helm this movie, you know what Star Wars character would come back? Motherfucking Mace Windu.
There you go.
Yeah, and he would have the Jerry curl,
yeah,
the mustache.
Yeah.
Well,
look at the big head on Grey.
On Ki-Adi Mundi.
Darth Maul can survive.
That is a tasty quarter portion. That is a tasty quarter portion.
You know what they call a quarter portion on Coruscant?
A Royale with cheese.
That has to be a T-shirt. We got to do that one.
Royale quarter portion.
A Royale with... Yeah. Oh, gosh. How has that not been done yet?
See, I don't think Tarantino would do it, though, if we're being realistic. So I think a more realistic director for this would be Wes Anderson.
I've always wanted a Wes Anderson Star Wars movie.
And a Wes Anderson Star Wars movie about killing Force-sensitive children.
Didn't somebody do that? Didn't somebody do, like, if Star Wars was directed by...
I could totally...
SNL.
He would totally do, like, a Jawas one about, like, a dysfunctional Jawa family.
Yeah, it would be... no.
Yeah. But...
So we have a tradition here at Star Wars Loose Cannon. We always have to ask Alex what he actually studied for this episode.
Okay.
So
yeah,
Alex...
well, I'll say at this point in the episode, I feel quite foolish because it's clear that I was confused. But I wasn't sure what you meant by Inquisition, so I assumed like there was a really tough interview process for the Jedi to become a master. And I did a ton of research on this, and it's very weird because like Anakin just kind of got plucked along. You know, Luke came to it in a weird way. I couldn't find anything that's canon on the job interview process to be a Jedi, whether they ask about, you know, if you were an animal, what would you be? Or asking Mace Windu what his greatest weakness is. There's just nothing out there on it. So I'm glad that wasn't...
Force diabetes?
Yeah. I'm glad that wasn't the actual topic because not a lot.
Well, actually, I think if you look at the way Lucas wrote the prequels, the interview process would have gone something like this. So, why do you feel that you would be an asset to the Jedi Order? And the applicant would say, "Wow," because he's 6 months old. Like literally, they're stealing children.
Yeah.
Everyone
Well, I want my
apparently is like,
mommy.
"Oh, you're Force sensitive. Yoink! Welcome to the Jedi Order. You will grow like there's yeah."
So
That's
you're a slave kid, right? Yep.
Yeah.
And your mom doesn't have a husband or anyone who like knows about, you know, who I am? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Just get in the back of the ship. Get in the back of the shut up. Get in the back of the ship.
Put
Yes.
on this helmet and start hitting laser blasts, kid.
Yeah.
I got candy. This got real pedophilia dark real quick.
Ooh,
Again, Wes Anderson directing a Star Wars movie.
there you
It's
go.
got really like cute harpsichord music, and there's like one of those really quick zoom ins, like right onto somebody's face. Yeah. And there's and then just like the Steve Zissou style, but instead it's a cutaway of the sandcrawler.
I would
Hey,
love
come see my sandcrawler.
Bill Murray as like an Imperial Admiral or something in it. Like
You
leading
know,
the
ever
team.
notice he's really mopey in Wes Anderson movies? So
Yeah.
he would just be kind of like, I can't believe I did this job.
We gotta
Luke
kill the
Wilson
Jedi.
could be a Jedi.
Wow.
Whoa, the
Seems
Force.
like Pretty boy Jedi. I guess.
Wow.
No, Luke, not Owen.
Wait, did I get the Wilsons wrong?
Owen Wilson's the wow guy. Luke
Wow.
Wilson's like the tough, steely one.
Right.
Oh, okay. So the Luke Wilson does have to be in it. I think he's contractually obligated to be in Wes Anderson movies.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
So anyway, Star Wars.
Dun, 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 dun.
So there's I had one last point, and then we can let it meander. But there was a real fun. Anybody remember Jocasta Nu?
Oh yeah.
Sure. She's the galactic librarian of the Jedi Order, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Them
Just as
holocrons.
stuffy as that description sounds.
Just passive aggressive.
Yeah, and this was in the last couple of years of the Darth Vader comics, but they actually made her badass. I don't know if you've seen this part of canon, but she does survive Order 66. She steals and takes with her a secret list of all of the Force-sensitive children that they know in the universe, and
Yes.
it's somehow hidden away in a room, and she actually breaks back into the Jedi Temple to get that list. And then...
There was something with that list in the map, too, right? A map?
Maybe? You mean the map to Luke Skywalker?
I thought she had something to do with that, too. I could be wrong.
It's very possible because, you know, she's the keeper of the holocrons, you know, for sure. And she snuck out, but she noticed, and here's how she got caught. The Grand Inquisitor Quirius was destroying her books and being very disrespectful for her library space, and that just, in her true librarian, ways, set her off, and then she made herself known and tried to attack the Inquisitor.
Wow. So what does she wield? Does she wield like one of those like extendo pointer like lightsabers? You know, that really
Expecto Patrono. Yeah,
it's just a ruler.
It's just a ruler, but actually, in real life, in Star Wars real life, it turned into a blaster. She had one of those that was hidden as a blaster, and she blasted her way out of there. But she also self-destructed the library. So to pull this all together, the main question of this episode: who's responsible for the collective memory of the Jedi going away? It's the librarian.
And she blew it all up, man. You had one job.
Yeah, she does create an auxiliary space for all of her stuff that she stored. Again, she created a Goodwill for her old tchotchkes. And Luke Skywalker, School Lucaster actually finds the place. Would you imagine?
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's what was burning down in the flashback in Last Jedi. And he had one job. And he also, screwed it up. The Goodwill.
He was there he was the night manager of the Galactic Goodwill, and he couldn't even keep that safe.
Yeah. Everyone in Star Wars has one job, and they all fail at it.
Yeah. Obi-Wan, Boba. Boba's was just to stay alive and be badass, and he fell into a Sarlacc pit. And
Yep.
I don't think it was Jocasta. I think that's just a myth. I think really there was like some, kind of disgruntled sort of second tier office worker who once the Empire took over, they were like, no, you can't work here anymore. This is no longer your library. You don't have a job here anymore. They just kept moving him from cubicle to cubicle. He's like, no, this
eventually
is
to the basement.
Finally,
I just want my stapler.
Yeah.
Why are you carrying a blaster, Jocasta? You're just a librarian. You never know.
We never actually gave you lightsaber training, just so you know.
But she was a Jedi Master. I mean, she was fairly high in the order. So, I mean, it stands to reason that she would have, survived for a while and not just gone down instantly, like with Order 66.
Yep. And, she wasn't with the army, so she wasn't out there on the front lines of the Clone Army. So it makes a lot of sense why she would survive. But the little story that they've put into how she sort of brings upon the wiping of the Jedi archives and making so people don't accidentally find out about the Jedi. I mean, granted, this is in the span of 20 years, so why people would have short memories as to why, people who actually experienced Jedi, it doesn't explain that, but it at least explains that people stop going to the library, so...
Well, I'm pretty satisfied with that, explanation. For me, it's always been a curiosity why we haven't gotten more stories about it. It's not necessarily a plot hole, as it were. I'm always fascinated by which stories we get and which ones we don't get. And to me, this is like a whole thing that they could really develop. So.
Yeah, and Alex's running gag is, of course, he researches the wrong thing. He gives us Bible verses, and he gives us weird Wikipedia articles. Patrick's is he mentions Batman sometime in the episode. Mine is that I mentioned socialism, so I'll give you mine. Someone on Stack Exchange actually explained, like, why would people like Grand Moff Tarkin forget about the Jedi? He literally worked, for the Republic and probably fought alongside Jedi. Why 20 years later would he say, the last of your religion is gone, whatever, besides the fact that Lucas wasn't thinking that far ahead. But somebody put, it was expedient for both the state and individuals, especially government employees, to relegate them as far back in the mind as possible, just like discussing the monarchy in Soviet Russia in 1938. Yeah, it was only 20 years ago, but, thinking about it was not advantageous to your life.
Move on.
I like that. That kind of makes sense. I mean, even like dictators like Pol Pot in Cambodia, they started at year zero. And anyone who remembered what life was like before that in the dictatorship, I mean, this is a true story. And I know that they borrowed from a lot of this kind of, dictator political stuff in Star Wars. So that does make sense that after 20 years, they would have kind of pushed it out of their collective memories.
Yeah, and you can give credit to the smart people around George Lucas, but not George Lucas in 1975. Just putting that on.
Interesting.
Yeah. So was that your request, Nick, for me to bring up the Wikipedia article?
Oh, do it.
I think I was mentioning it on purpose, so yeah.
Okay, so this one, usually it's something I think is really silly that someone added it to Wikipedia. This is a little of that, but it's also very silly, just that it's a thing. So on the page for time, which I got to in researching this episode, they talk about timekeeping, and they talk about the dating and what makes up a year on Coruscant. And they make sure to note that a year was made up of 12 months, spanning 365 days of 24 hours each, comma, with no leap years. So what I really love about this is not only did they make it almost exactly like Earth, first someone felt the need to put this on Wikipedia, but then when they were making this, they're like, all right, we need a year. So it should be, 12 months, 365 days, 24 hours each. Oh, wait. That's way too close to Earth. But there's no leap years every 4 years.
Put a little seasoning on that. Yeah.
So that's the entry of the week. Cue outro music.
Well, and then Patrick, you just got to fit Batman reference here in the next couple minutes, just so you know.
Oh well, I mean, just like Jocasta Nu had entries on every single Jedi that ever lived, it's very similar to Batman's Bat computer on every single criminal that ever lived in Gotham City, which was funny enough what the Jedi ended up becoming under Empire rule. So, for instance, in the Tower of Babel storyline, Ra's al Ghul uses his Bat computer files against the Justice League to kill all of them because he knows all their weaknesses. So it's very possible that the Empire might have taken some of those old files if they weren't all exploded and used them to hunt those guys down.
Damn, I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah. Sometimes Batman kind of sucks.
Yeah, he can really step on his own cape, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
But
I thought just gonna say that it was like what's her name in The Last Jedi? Purple.
Oh
hair.
yeah, that girl. The what's her face?
Oh yeah, yeah, purple hair.
The Holdo maneuver.
Yeah, Holdo. Yeah.
Alan Holdo. It's kind of like Alan Holdo who crashes the nuclear device and blows everything up there at the end. Saves Gotham. She saves the.
There we go.
Holdo onto my beer.
Yeah.
The Holdo my beer maneuver.
Holdo my beer. There we go.
Yeah.
So guys, what do you want to pitch to our legions of fans? Where should they go to ingest as much faking Star Wars as possible?
Well, our main contributor on the site is Willy Bobo, who you can find at Faking Star Wars on Twitter or Instagram. And Link Voxamillion is also very active on Twitter, producing daily content on the site, fakingstarwars.net. And then the podcast, which you can get on iTunes or Stitcher or your podcast platform of choice, Faking Star Wars Radio. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am Storm Duper. And we do respond to requests for friends. And if you like to chat, if you have an idea for an episode, we do all kinds of different stuff. We try to keep, it clean, cleaner than we've been on this show for sure. But we love to get fan interactions. We do some giveaways from time to time and contests and caption contests, all kinds of cool stuff that we got ready for the rest of 2019. And hopefully, if all things go well, you're going to see a little bit more interesting content coming out of the podcast in 2020.
It'll never happen.
If IG doesn't murder me before then.
Yeah, get involved if you want to get blackballed both by the far left and the far right. No, I shouldn't say the far left. The left is with you, but I mean like the people that get offended when you lean either way. So,
to be honest, we don't really lean. We just make up ridiculous stuff, and that seems to rile certain people up more than others. But.
Some people don't seem to understand how it can just be a fun sandbox to play in, and we don't have an ulterior motive. Literally, what you hear is our motive. Like, there's nothing else to it. There's nothing more sublime to it. We're just having fun, making fun of ourselves, making fun of fans, making fun of Star Wars, and we are still fans to our core. I mean, we are hugely big Star Wars fans. I'm one of the top 300 in Star Wars trivia in the world, rated. Ooh. So it's not like we just like to make fun of this.
Need to see those credentials.
I know. I can send them to you secretly. The cryptography needs to be in order though, because I don't know when to get a hold of those things. So.
Wow.
But yeah, we do have a T-shirt site as well. I'm sporting one here. This is our kind of generic boilerplate one, but we have about 30 or 40 designs that are always changing. That's at TeePublic, teepublic.com. And if you search Faking Star Wars, you can find our T-shirt site. And we don't make money off this, really. We're just doing it for fun. Any money we get from T-shirt sales, we use for fermented blue milk. So.
So you say we should be trying to have fun off of these other people's properties that we talk about, then? Interesting. Because I thought maybe I should make it more serious. And
I've been wasting my time.
Argue about it on the internet until I get sad and cry.
Yeah, I wanted to inject politics.
What else are you gonna do? No. Use it as a subtle platform for your political opinions. That's right. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
That's better. Yeah.
That's a noble political goal.
Yeah, that's right.
I had a mind because after I got like too high at Star Wars Celebration and sat in on the Disney the Galaxy's Edge thing, and it's like, oh cool, they're trying to sell us Cokes. I have had a mind to repurpose my old Star Wars account into only socialist Star Wars memes just for fun, just to make everybody mad.
Yeah, you need to be like a Bernie Sanders Star Wars character where everything says.
Oh no, you brought me up, Patrick. You had to bring it up now. Of course, at the end.
These Imperial officers have too many credits.
We don't have enough Imperial holidays. We got Life Day. Everyone loves Life Day. But we don't have enough. We need to instill enough all throughout the galaxy.
And I would like to instate a leap year for all people.
There you go. We need leap years.
Coruscant needs a leap year. I'm just saying.
I love it. Well, if you guys get started on a political campaign of that nature, you can definitely count me in. I'll be your first contributor.
Oh, wonderful.
At least put a sign up in your yard.
Absolutely. Hey, you guys can have my yard. You can spray paint it. You can do whatever the heck you want, just as long as you promise to give me a leap year.
Okay.
We'll pull some strings.
Careful. So we can see it from space then.
Yes.
Wait. What about 2 leap years?
Oof. Ooh. The power's going to his head.
I'll think about it.
Leap months.
I don't think it's as important as a 200 credit per hour minimum wage.
Every 3 weeks we get an extra day.
Man, I bet some planets they have to do that. Man, we should look into that, guys.
All right, episode idea.
Yeah, there you go. Mark it down. So if you want to reach out to us and find our stuff, we're of course on the internet, tweeting in that terrible realm of Twitter right now. It's just fun to go through there and feel sad because somebody said something about something you like. But tweet at us at Star Wars LC. Look at our Instagram every once in a while at Star Wars LC, and of course, give us a good review on the iTunes, which is not called iTunes anymore. Whatever it is.
Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcasts.
There it is. Great.
Well, it was a pleasure having you both on, fellas.
This is a good first. We'll have to have you on ours as soon as we get something going here in the next couple weeks.
Super
Absolutely. I mean, I was on yours, so
Yes, well, it was nice to meet you at Celebration. I mean, that's still, I think, it's probably one of the best episodes we've done all year. So
yeah, it was really weird that they put the booths so close to each other. So
yeah,
and the stars, it's meant to be.
Yeah, sorry about blasting that fan all over your table there.
Oh, that's no harm done. I needed to cool off a little bit. Someone said something naughty about Ryan Johnson, so I got all hot under the collar.
IG will take care of it. If you have anybody in the galaxy on Twitter anywhere, that's why he's not on Twitter, so that no one will suspect where the laser blasts are coming from. But he'll take care of it for you.
There we go. You just surprise everybody once you're there. Yeah. All right, fellas, we're gonna wrap it up.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
May the foe be with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.